NCE Upon a time, there was a young girl named Emily who loved to play hide-and-seek with her friends. One day, they were playing in Emily's room when it was her turn to be the seeker. She counted to 10 while her friends scattered around the room to find a hiding spot. Emily searched every corner of the room, but she couldn't find her friends. Frustrated and tired, she sat down on the floor to catch her breath. Suddenly, she heard a strange noise coming from under her bed. It sounded like a low growl, but she wasn't sure. Emily's heart started racing as she slowly leaned over to peek under the bed. At first, she saw nothing but darkness. But then, she saw two glowing eyes staring back at her. Emily gasped in terror as she stumbled backward and fell onto the floor. She scrambled to her feet and ran out of the room, leaving the door wide open behind her. She didn't stop until she reached the safety of her parents' bedroom, where she collapsed on the floor, shaking with fear. When her parents asked her what had happened, Emily could barely speak. She told them about the strange noise and the glowing eyes under her bed. Her parents tried to calm her down, assuring her that it was probably just her imagination. But Emily knew what she saw, and she refused to go back into her room. Days turned into weeks, and Emily's fear of her bedroom grew stronger. Every night, she would hear strange noises coming from under her bed, and she would hide under her covers, praying that whatever was down there wouldn't come out. But one night, her worst fears came true. As she lay in bed, listening to the strange noises, Emily felt something brush against her foot. She screamed and pulled her feet up onto the bed, but it was too late. Something grabbed her ankle and started pulling her under the bed. Emily kicked and screamed, but the grip on her ankle was too strong. She felt herself being dragged closer and closer to the edge of the bed, her fingers desperately clutching at the sheets. Just as she thought all was lost, she felt a sudden jolt and was thrown back onto the bed. She scrambled to her feet and ran out of the room, never looking back. Emily's parents investigated the room, but they found nothing unusual. They tried to convince her that it was all in her head, but she knew the truth. Something was living under her bed, something evil and terrifying. From that day on, Emily refused to sleep in her bedroom. She moved into the guest room, and her parents tried their best to make her feel safe. But they knew that Emily would never forget what she saw and felt under her bed, and they knew that the horror that lurked in her room was real. 2. There was once a room in an old mansion that was known to be haunted. It was said that anyone who entered the room would never come out the same. The locals whispered that there was a boogeyman that lived inside, waiting to pounce on unsuspecting victims. One day, a young couple moved into the mansion, and they were immediately drawn to the mysterious room. They felt a strange pull towards it, as if it was calling out to them. At first, they were hesitant to enter, but their curiosity got the best of them. They opened the door and stepped inside. The room was dark and musty, with cobwebs lining the corners. The air was thick with a sense of dread, and the couple could feel their hearts beating faster as they explored the room. As they looked around, they noticed that there was a door at the far end of the room. It was locked, but they could see light coming from underneath it. They tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge. That's when they heard a strange sound coming from the other side of the door. It was a low growling noise, like an animal. The couple were scared, but they couldn't shake the feeling that they needed to see what was on the other side. They tried everything to get the door open, but it wouldn't give. As the hours ticked by, the couple started to feel like they were being watched. They kept hearing strange noises coming from all around them. Scratching sounds, whispering, and even laughter. They tried to leave the room, but the door wouldn't open. They were trapped inside with whatever was lurking in the shadows. As the night wore on, the sounds grew louder and more menacing. The couple could hear something moving around in the darkness, getting closer and closer. Suddenly, the door burst open, and a creature emerged from the other side. It was tall and thin, with long, spindly fingers and razor-sharp teeth. Its eyes glowed in the darkness, and its breath was hot and putrid. The couple tried to run, but the creature was too fast. It chased them around the room, its claws scratching against the wooden floor. Just when they thought they were doomed, the couple managed to escape from the room. They ran down the hallway, their hearts pounding in their chests. As they looked back, they could see the boogeyman standing in the doorway, its eyes fixed on them. They knew that they would never be the same again, that the room had changed them forever. 3. As the door to the room creaked open, a chill ran down her spine. She stepped inside, hesitantly, her eyes scanning the shadows. The room was dimly lit, the only source of light coming from a flickering candle on the table in the corner. She took a few steps forward, her heart pounding in her chest. Suddenly, she heard a sound behind her, and she spun around, her hand reaching for the doorknob. But it wouldn't budge. She was trapped. As she turned back around, she saw movement out of the corner of her eye. Something was moving in the shadows. She couldn't make out what it was, but she knew it was coming closer. Her fear grew as she realized she was not alone in the room. The air was thick with the stench of decay, and she felt something cold and clammy brush against her arm. She screamed, but no one came to her rescue. She was trapped in this room, with whatever was lurking in the shadows. As she stood there, frozen with fear, she saw a glint of metal in the darkness. And then, everything went black. She woke up hours later, her head throbbing with pain. The room was empty, the candle extinguished. She stumbled to her feet and stumbled towards the door, her heart still racing with fear. As she reached for the doorknob, she realized it was unlocked. She burst out of the room, gasping for air, her whole body shaking with fear. She knew she had narrowly escaped something terrible, and she never wanted to go back into that room again.